The number one cause for lawsuits right now is first-time homebuyers with no margin for repairs running into unexpected expenses right after closing. As affordability tightens, grace for inconveniences evaporates. That means proper expectations standing behind your work and transparency becomes the new battlefield. The easiest mistake to make when it comes to flipping houses is not setting proper expectations when it comes to your workmanship, or even not having a documented process for how you handle things that come up post-closing. A lot of buyers right now are expecting almost like new construction quality being in quotes because I've seen some atrocious new builds, and personally I'd rather buy a house built in the 60s and 70s versus one with COVID materials. They're expecting an almost condo-esque maintenance-free experience. A lot of these folks are first-time home buyers. They're used to renting and having somebody else that they can call when something comes up. Chances are that might be you if you're not careful. When it comes to proper expectations, there's three things to look at. One is, do you guarantee your workmanship at all, and what you should or shouldn't guarantee? Second is, should you provide a home warranty in today's climate? And lastly is, will your vendors have your back with the work that you paid them to do? Our typical rule of thumb is if it's something we replaced, we're going to stand behind it. If I put in a brand new kitchen and the dishwasher fails the day after closing, I'm going to probably make that our problem and not push it to the seller. There are going to be items, though, that we didn't touch that we're not going to warranty. For instance, if I sold a house with a 10-year-old roof and the roof inspected fine for them and for me, and there ends up being a water leak a couple weeks after closing, like we literally didn't touch it. We've never lived there. We didn't know. I'm not going to go put on a new roof. It's very likely, though, that you're not going to run into stuff that large, but there's going to be like small things that maybe you could have or should have caught that you're not going to be aware of because you never lived there. For instance, it might be like, hey, the bathtub in the bathroom drains slow. Well, okay, can we go snake the line, or is there something that we can do there to give them a good experience? I used to be pretty anti-home warranty. In fact, I've been quoted in Angie.com several times talking about like the evils of home warranties, but I think they've become a little bit more of a necessity. Even though claims can kind of suck, deductibles are a pain, and it can be kind of a hassle to jump through the hoops. As a flipper, you're probably way better off dropping the $500 or $600 to give somebody that peace of mind and having somebody else stand behind aging systems that you didn't necessarily touch. For instance, in my current house, a couple months after we moved in, our dishwasher started having issues. We called the home warranty company, paid a deductible, pain in the butt. They had to come out a couple times, but they got it fixed. If I was somebody on a fixed income, the prospect of putting in a $600 or $800 dishwasher or paying a $100 deductible, one of those is preferable. One way that you can kind of insulate yourself from some of this is have clear, written, documented agreements with the vendors that you work with. Hey man, if you put in a new water heater for me, are you willing to stand behind that work for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? And properly communicating that to the new homeowner goes a really long way. I know this is a bit of a touchy topic, and I know flippers that pretty much just warranty anything they touched because their brand is so important to them. In real estate, it's kind of a small community, and the last thing you want is to be known as the guy that does shoddy work and leaves families holding the bag. The next mistake we see is ego flaring up when you should be using empathy. While often investors are guilty of this, I've met some realtors that are way worse offenders. I try to run my business in a way that's blameless. What I mean by that is following the golden rule, treating other people how I would like to be treated. If I'm a brand new homeowner and I just bought my first house and I put my entire life savings into buying it, and the day after closing, the water heater goes out, that doesn't feel great. On some of these things, it almost comes down to not necessarily what's legal, but what's a little bit more like the right thing to do. If we worked on a system, like if I serviced a water heater instead of fixing it and then it fails the day after closing, well, I'm aware flushing a water heater system can cause issues, especially if it's never been done. Might be worth me just ponying up and putting in a new water heater versus leaving them holding the bag when it comes to my online reviews and recommendations. Trying to put yourself in their shoes as the new homeowner that was starry-eyed going into their new place. It's their dream home. They want to have their friends over. Like, Try to put yourself in their shoes versus just from your point being like, we sold the house, they did an inspection, it's their problem. Doing some simple repairs is always going to be cheaper than going the legal route. Typically, investors don't choose to go the legal route, they get dragged into it, but you got to keep in mind, small claims has a limit of $8,000. If they want to go above and beyond that, like full jury trial, it's going to set you back a minimum of 30, even if you're right and didn't do anything wrong. When you have disputes come up, because they're going to happen, if you do any sort of volume, somebody's going to run into something post-closing and they're going to want it to be your problem. I really try to have those conversations, show that I am extremely reasonable and accommodating. And if anything, they're the unreasonable party, whether that's through text, email, or a recorded phone call. When it comes to these conversations, I can't express enough the importance of you just directly talking to the other party. I've made this mistake of severing communications because I just don't want to deal with it. And that has never gone well. Pretty much everyone I know that's been in a legal dispute around a property could have likely been solved for substantially less money if you had just had the uncomfortable conversation and talked directly with the other party. I find there are really two types of investors. The first that we've got is your ego-heavy investor. This is the guy that will fight you over anything. You could tell him you like agreeable gray and he could tell you he would never use it and he will die on that hill. The second type of investor is more like your nice guy-ish type. I want to do good work. I want to take care of people. I want people to be happy with me. And neither of those are really right. What we're looking for is more in the middle, like being able to speak the truth in love. And when it comes to these communications, not only are we trying to get both realtors out of the way, so there's just an open line of communication, but we also want to probably avoid texts. Tone doesn't come over well through texts. If somebody bought a house, something failed, it's covered by the home warranty. Me saying, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, it's covered by your home warranty, feels like I'm brushing them off. Versus a phone call of, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that happened. I know it was fine on the inspection. We just put that in. Here's who did the work. Here's where we got the material from. It's under warranty with the manufacturer. Or, hey, yeah, super sorry to hear that. Totally covered by your home warranty. They're fantastic. Here's their claims number. Let me know if you need any help. Now we're at the part of the video that anybody who bought a poorly flipped house and is watching this to vent isn't going to love. You have to be firm and educational, particularly when you're dealing with first-time home buyers. The first house my wife and I bought, we were dirt poor when we bought it. Like probably shouldn't have been homeowners. It was a $75K house in a rougher part of Indianapolis. Our first night we moved in during the rain. It was pouring all day. It was like a historical level of rain. We're laying in bed trying to go to sleep, and I hear what sounds almost like a small waterfall, which typically is relaxing, but not when it sounds like it's like in your air vents. So I go to the side of the house with a flashlight, and sure enough, the property's not graded properly. The water level is resting up on the siding so much that it is literally pouring into the crawl space vents. Nothing I could do about it that night, and one of the worst water sounds to try to fall asleep to. The next morning, I get up, and there's no one to call to fix this. There's not maintenance. We were new to this part of town. I didn't have contractor connections or anything. This was our problem. So what we had to do was literally regrade that side of the house. We didn't pull in like heavy equipment or anything. We literally just kind of built like a little hill, but it worked flawless. The property never got wet in the crawl space, again, while we lived there for 4 or 5 years. Now we're at the part of the video that investors probably aren't going to love. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys all the benefit of the doubt. I have yet to meet an investor personally whose goal is to hide defects and take advantage of people. I'm sure they're out there, and there's a special place in hell for that sort of behavior, but I think what happens more often than not is folks are overpaying for houses. They're not getting a good enough deal. Spoiler alert, is what we teach you how to do on this channel. So they're having to then under remodel the property. There's things they would like to do that they can't afford to do, like maybe an HVAC system or a new roof. I would not expect that you're going to be able to sell a home with a bunch of end-of-life systems like a 15-year-old HVAC and get away with it. You're likely going to have to replace that system or deal with it upon inspection. So budget to handle it from the get-go. For my mom and pop investors, it is critical right now that not only are you getting good deals, but you're doing quality work and standing behind it. Have clear, written, documented policies of how you handle post-closing issues, as well as Provide all of the information your new buyer is going to need. Give them all of the warranty paperwork and manuals. Just stick all that stuff in a kitchen drawer so it's convenient for them. If we haven't met yet, my name is Ryan Dossey. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Be sure to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you guys next time.